We're tuned into Recovery TV, the voice of hope, with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Discussions and information on addiction and mental health issues. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome to another edition of Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. In the studio today is Judge Pamela Pfeiffer, and she is the new judge that oversees the mental health court. But before we get to Judge Pfeiffer, I want to talk to you about Narcan. Please get some. Please pick it up. Put it in your purse. Put it in your car. But you have to take it out of your car at night due to the weather. So please, get it. It saves lives. Judge Pfeiffer, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, John.
So I was invited to come to your court a few weeks ago and look at what the court is all about. I have to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
And also flabbergasted by the clientele that comes in front of you for mental health issues. And as we talked earlier, it's really sad that these folks can't get the services that they need. And I was glad that Judge LaFazia and a few others worked with us to get the mental health court, just like the drug court. Now we have a mental health court. So tell me a little bit about why Judge Pfeiffer got picked to take that court.
You'd have to talk to Chief Judge LaFazia about that. So it's actually called a mental health treatment calendar here in Rhode Island. It's in our district court, as you indicated, John. And it is basically a form of a treatment court, just like the drug courts or we have a veterans treatment court that we started in district court, also through Judge LaFazia, and now we have this. And we've been doing this for about a year now, and it is always a work in progress, but yes, it is a difficult treatment court or treatment calendar to be with because we work with a different kind of population and through no fault of their own. You know, they are people who have severe, persistent mental illness, so something significant, and that has led them, for whatever reason, to have contact with the criminal justice system. District court, we deal with misdemeanors, so if those folks get arrested and are referred to us, we take a look at them clinically and legally to see if they might want to join us in our court. And the period of time is usually about a year, and the folks that come in are normally, as I said, serious mental illness, and so we're talking about people who may have schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, certain types of bipolar disorder, you know, things that are significant. And again, these are medical conditions, basically.
Yeah.
It's this that's getting them repeatedly involved in the legal system and the criminal system. And Chief Judge LaFazia essentially said, well, they're caught in the cycle. You know, they get arrested for something like small, usually, and then they get put on a filing, and then probation, and then it goes on, and then they end up in jail. And they don't get treatment in jail.
Right.
It's not a healthy environment. It doesn't do anything for the public safety because these folks are not getting what they need. It's not doing anything for them, their health, their benefits. So this was created really to try to break that cycle of incarceration.
And I think, you know, me sitting there, and I think it will, if in fact we're able to get them the treatment that they need. Now, you currently have 2 caseworkers in your court, correct?
They are, it's a little complicated, but we have pretrial service unit is the unit in district court that works with folks that are on bail, and usually to try to connect them to services, try to connect them to clinicians, providers, to see if they might need typically substance abuse counseling, mental health counseling. So we have 2 people within that unit who are assigned to the mental health treatment court. And they're like case managers, but not clinical case managers, although they have training, masters, for some of them, to work with people one-on-one. We also have a coordinator, our mental health treatment calendar coordinator, who is also within that pretrial service unit, but is Stephanie Greco, and she essentially works with them, oversees them, helps put the program together and make it function. I think the reason why I said that there's kind of a difference that can be complicated is because, as you know, with the community health providers,
Right.
they have case managers. We usually say that, and that's who we're talking about. You know, the people that work with the people who are their patients, who need help and treatment, who arrange the treatment plan, work with those people in order to get them what they need from the community providers. But as we talked about before, it's a partnership, basically, with
Right.
everybody, right, to make this work. And the community providers, community health providers are strained. They do what they can with what they have, but they are a crucial piece of helping get people to be on track, be able to take care of themselves, to be stable, all of those kinds of things.
You know, I was taken back a little bit by the gentleman who appeared in front of you, that he was like on his third or fourth caseworker.
Yes.
You know, that they
Yeah.
either they quit or they went to another place. That's one of the things that I talked to the General Assembly about. There's
Right.
no stability. The workforce is fragmented.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's no stability for that particular gentleman, where he has to go and he has to tell his story 4 times instead of once.
That's correct.
And when you get to the 4th time, he's frustrated. They're frustrated because they've been through 3 already. We have to, as a state and as a group, with the courts, the providers, myself, to make sure we get the right people in the right places to help these folks. Because we all want the best for these folks. We all want them to be
Absolutely.
productive citizens and stay out of prison. As you indicated before, it doesn't help anybody to throw Larry in prison with no services, and Larry is not going to get well with no services.
Correct.
And when Larry
Absolutely.
gets out, Larry's going to be a problem again, because Larry doesn't know right from wrong because of his illness.
Yeah, it is. It's really complicated, and it's very frustrating, I know, for our team within the treatment court, and for the providers as well. We know that. So,
Yeah.
but I think, you know, again, they try to do the best they can with what they
What
have.
they have. Yep.
You know, our court is, being a treatment calendar, a treatment court, does work in a very different way
Yeah.
than a regular court.
And I want to talk about that when we come back from break.
Okay.
You're watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni, here with Judge Pfeiffer of the new court and district court. We'll be right back after these messages.
Now, back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV is made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, AdCare. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Judge Pamela Pfeiffer is in the house today, and we're talking about her court, the new court, for people who have mental health issues. So welcome, Judge, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you again for having me.
I want to talk a little bit about your staff. Obviously, it's a hand-picked staff because it's new,
Correct.
and you want to have continuity within the court
Correct.
to help these folks. It seems to me, when I was there, it was a very seamless transition, very seamless. The participants that come in front of you, very well behaved,
Oh, yeah.
very attentive about when you speak. How did yourself and Judge LaFazia come up with this system? Is it because you had so many people in your other court that you were running and it said, well, you know what, we really need this mental health court?
That was certainly a big driver of it. There have, across the nation, they've started to do mental health treatment courts, which we all follow certain standards, et cetera, but they're really different. All the treatment courts in each jurisdiction tend to be a little bit different, but also they function differently because of the people that we're working with than like a drug court, something like that. But yes, we were seeing the same patterns of people getting caught up, and it's very frustrating when you see some of the same faces. They call them familiar faces, I think, in some places. And so it was time to see if we could be part of, if not the solution. but to try to do something in that piece. By the time they come in, you want to get people ahead of time.
Right.
You want to get them diverted and taken care of and get what they need ahead of time, so they don't come in and see me. I don't have to meet them, and they don't have to meet me. But everybody who comes in, it's like anything, even in the regular court. If you treat people with respect, they treat you with respect. And by the time we see them, it's a voluntary court. So they have to consent to be with us. It's a pre-plea court, so they are not pleading guilty like they might if it was a felony court or in some other jurisdictions or states. We sign a participation agreement together, kind of like a contract, and they know that if they work through the program and go through the phases and keep up with their bail conditions, their case may be dismissed. Or if they have a bit of a criminal record, then there may be another sentence, but something they would not get in a regular courtroom. And so by the time they're able to consent and they've had conversations with their attorneys, et cetera, and come into us, they're usually in a pretty good place. And again, they are at that point where they say, yes, let me come in and try to work with you. And so that's why you see what you see.
So I noticed too that you were kind enough to hand out citations or proclamations for graduation.
Right.
And I happened to notice one individual when they received that from you. The smile on their face was like from here to here. And that makes a big difference. That right here, all day long, that this individual voluntarily came in front of your court.
Right.
And now got a proclamation that she passed.
Yeah, I mean, part of the treatment court type programs, it's really important to have incentives and sanctions. But the incentives are what you, generally speaking, normally give, and that was for completing a particular group therapy class that is, best practices, evidence-based, that will help with this population and some other people, Veterans Court, et cetera. So we applaud so many different things because there are small successes for particularly these people.
At a time.
That's right. If you get housing or you fill out your housing application yourself, you get up off, you get the energy and the ability to focus and make all your appointments and just a whole variety of things. Connecting up with support services. Anything that for that particular individual is kind of a milestone. We acknowledge that.
Especially too when they're bounced around, like they've been bounced around because of no workers.
Right. Right.
change of clinicians.
Right.
You know, one of the questions, you know, when I went into coffee the following day and I said,
Yeah.
explained to my buddies about this court,
Yeah.
what happens if little Johnny doesn't meet your expectations? What happens to little Johnny?
We will do anything and everything we can to keep people in the program, and sometimes they will. We don't do sanctions like people who hear the word might think of sanctions,
Yeah.
you know, where you do something wrong or you get a dirty urine screen or something and you go to jail. We don't, that's not the point. The sanctions may be that the person needs an adjustment in their treatment plan. And that conversation takes place with the community provider and their clinicians, et cetera, who are usually on the same place. You know, like, yes, they need a little bit more. Or maybe they have to contact or come in to see their pretrial service person, who is their liaison and their case manager from that quote-unquote point of view. Maybe they need to come and see me more often.
Go to the principal's office.
Go to the right, but it's really, you know, the whole idea too is that we want to, it's to keep and help people become as safe and healthy
stable.
and stable
Yeah.
as possible. So that's really it. I mean, sometimes people will go along and then they'll, you know, they may opt out, and that's their right to do that.
We're going to have to opt out right now because I got to go to break.
Okay.
You're watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. We'll be right back with Judge Pfeiffer in the mental health court.
And now, back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV is made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, AdCare. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Judge Pamela Pfeiffer is in the house, and the judge is the newly appointed judge for the mental health court. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for the clients that you help. And finally, there seems to be some sunshine on the horizon. But what's next for the court?
There's going to be, I think, just a little bit of growth, shall we say, as time goes on. The process, you know, and learning how to work with everybody and learning how to bring everybody
it's
to
all
the
new.
table. Exactly. But it's also something that you have to grow. You have to take in new ideas, new ways to help people, and follow, again, best practices. But and it's all a team. You know, I'm just the person who sits up in the chair. But I think as people get used to the fact that we are there and what people are able to accomplish by going through the mental health treatment calendar program, that there are going to be more people. I mean, we get a lot of referrals. Not everybody
Fits the criteria.
right. Not everybody fits the eligibility criteria. So right now we have, you know, 25 people, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's people from Kent County and
Right.
Providence County mostly. We're not even able to at this
Go
point.
Northern Rhode Island.
Right,
yeah.
right, and to Newport, which
Right.
they have
big
they have
problem
some
there, too.
problems there too that they
Well,
struggle with.
Judge, I want to thank you for coming on today. Love to have you come back in like 6 months and tell me where you're at. So thank you again, and I wish you all the best to help those people. You've been watching
you.
Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Next week, Mr. Sam Knox will be my guest, and he started a foundation for his brother who died of an overdose. The foundation is called The Nick of Time. We'll see you next week.